Hey, everybody, and hello, humans. This is Josh with Not a Robot Podcast, DC Comics Review Show, your favorite DC Comics review show. And as always, my two partners in comic crime are here with me today. We have Brandon
Hello, everybody. Happy holidays, I think.
and our regular host who's not doing so well, which is why you have to hear more of me, Rob.
Hi.
Rob caught a little bit of that holiday flu, so we're all over here lending our health to him, hoping that he feels better soon.
It's the ultimate gift, really.
It's the
and
gift
it's
that
the
keeps on
regular
giving,
flu.
truly.
Exactly. Good old stomach
least it's
flu.
not
It's
the
better
brown
than
bottle.
cold.
It never stops giving.
Well, given that we all have obligations to take care of today, Rob needs to go to bed, Brandon needs to get a haircut, and I need to go get some food. We're just going to go ahead and jump right on in. Unless there is any amazing news that we need to share with our listeners, should we just jump on into the books?
I got nothing, but I've been so out of it, I haven't really been able to look.
I haven't even really checked. I've just been so busy with the holiday stuff. I'm not really sure what's going on in comics or anywhere else.
Yeah, I am right there with you. About the only thing that I had to say about news isn't even really news, but I am not excited for Lazarus Planet just because the events have let me down for quite some time now. But I have to say that that solicit page in this week's comics with Damian, Bruce, Power Girl, Ivy, and Cyborg, uh, plus Batman and Monkey Prince, that's a weird fucking team, and I really can't wait to see what they're like together. I hope that's not misleading whatsoever. But with Wade and Yang on it, I do have some hope. Uh, that's all I've got to say. Now, this week we are going to mention very quickly Batman Beyond the White Knight number 7, Batman Gotham Knights Gilded City number 3, Batman The Audio Adventures number 4, Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead number 4, DC Mech number 6, which was the end of that. DC versus Vampires also concluded with number 12. Nice House on the Lake can be added to that one with number 12 of 12 as well. Riddler Year 1
tears.
number 2. Yeah, tears indeed. Riddler Year 1 number 2. I was going to get my numbers all mixed up there. Wonder Woman Historia of the Amazons number 3 of 3, and Young Justice Targets number 6 of 6. For the end of the year, we sure did have a whole hell of a lot of end of titles. And finally, in our honorable mentions, I'm just going to bring up Tales from Earth 6, a celebration of Stan Lee. Other than Young Justice Targets and Riddler Year 1, I really enjoyed all the rest of the books that were on the honorable mentions. And while the Tales from Earth 6 didn't exactly have any standout stories or anything that I would rave about at all, it was kind of cool to go back and visit Stan Lee's chance to work with some of DC's artists, which is where we got Earth 6 from. Now, those are our honorable mentions. In the rest of the show, we're going to talk about Blue Beetle Graduation Day number 2 of 6, Harley Quinn number 25, Punchline Gotham Game number 3 of 6, and Tim Drake Robin number 4. That's our quick bites. In the spotlight, we've got Sandman Universe Presents The Dead Boy Detectives number 1. Woohoo! John Stewart, The Emerald Knight number 1. And for our full analysis, we are going to be looking at Detective Comics 1067 and the long-awaited Action Comics number 1050. Uh, since we're all caught up on everything that's going on, let's go ahead and graduate toward doing our reviews with Brandon and Blue Beetle Graduation Day number 2.
My pleasure. So, as you said, this is Blue Beetle Graduation Day, Chapter 2. Written by Josh Trujillo with art from Adrian Gutierrez and colors from Will Quintana with letters from Lucas Gattoni. I apologize in advance. I did not get to write down a lot of my reviews, so I'm doing this on the fly, which I've not done in a while. So I'm going to try and keep this brief, also trying to make sure I hit all the bases. But I forgot how hard it was. Yeah, I know. I forgot how hard it was to just talk on the fly. Basically, the gist of it is we're catching up with Jaime, who is working at his Tia's diner in Palmera City, and he's having a bit of a tough time. He's had this video that he's sending to his friends Paco and Brenda about how great his life is, but really it's not that great, and he's feeling kind of out of it, feeling like he's not really finding his place. But hopefully he can find some solace in an old friend. So he goes to the Cord Industries building over in Palmera City to check in with Ted, as he had an appointment that day when who should show up but the new villain revealed last issue, the new Beetle, Dynastis as they are calling them. And they do battle for a little bit before Dynastis seems to get the upper hand on Jaime, but thankfully, before she can strike the final, or they can strike the final blow, Ted Cord appears and sprays her with some anti-kinetic goo. Always happy to have that on hand. And then uh, in a strange turn of events, the Gold Beetle Dynastis transforms back into her, or untransforms, I should say, back to her human form, and reveals that their name is Zermara, and that they're still trying to figure out their Beetle stuff as well. Ted tries to provide some support for Jaime, saying that he'll be there if he needs them. Maybe don't try and do the Blue Beetle stuff right now, but if you need someone to talk to, I'll be here, which I thought was really nice. And then Jaime makes his way back to his Tia's diner and has a little chat with them. But before he can call it quits for the night, who should show up demanding his help but Starfire? And that's where we end our issue. I'm just having a great time with the series. I gotta be honest. I'm not in love with the
Oh yeah,
art.
for sure.
It's a little, I don't know, it's a little too crazy. It's almost like manic. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's got like these expressions that are almost comical, and it makes
Yes.
some of the characters look a little deranged. But the energy and the heart is there, and I love that. And I don't know that I'm as big of a Jaime Reyes fan as you are, Josh, but this series is sort of just reminding me of why I like Jaime, and why he's such a great character and such an endearing one. And I like that it's doing a very kind of natural approach to it. It's Jaime growing up and trying to figure out what to do next with his life. And I'm also happy to
Being
see that
grounded
Ted.
by Superman.
Yeah, I know, literally grounded. And I'm also happy to see that Ted is back in the picture and is being a mentor to Jaime, which is always fun to see. So I'm having a blast with the series so far. And yeah, I mean, it's a shame it's a miniseries. I feel like they have a lot of gas in this one and could do some fun as an ongoing. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds? But I gave this one an 8.5 out of 10. I had a lot of fun.
Well, I had a lot of fun with it too, man. I thought it was kind of cool that they had Jimenez Street in Palmera City.
Yeah,
Timber
yeah.
to one of DC's great artists of the day. Interesting cameo pop-ups that were kind of showing up out of nowhere, like him just randomly bullshitting with Jessica Cruz. The art was good, but like Brandon, it was a bit off. I don't know if I would call it manic, but it was definitely exaggerated. A lot of faces,
Yeah.
posture of people, shadow lighting were off, shading. And that was distracting in the issue, but overall I liked it. And I'm seeing a hell of a setup here. It's making me think that this might need more than 6 issues, and I'm a little worried about that. We'll see, though. I love
Mhm.
Jaime Reyes. There is not a bigger fan of Jaime Reyes than me. Not even Jaime Reyes or his team.
Yeah. Well,
But
maybe Heim. What would it be like? Blue Beetle Might is a bigger
there
fan
you
than
go.
you.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever fourth
That'll do
dimensional
it.
imp Jaime Reyes has.
Yeah.
Mr. Kaji might.
Yeah.
um, I am having a hell of a fun time with this one, and I do hope that it leads to seeing more Jaime Reyes past the upcoming movie and past this 6 issue mini. Because of the art, though, and the slightly confusing cameos that popped up, I did only give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Trying to be reasonable with something I'm a fanboy of. How about you, Rob?
Solid story still. I also rather enjoyed the cartoony reactions. There was one in particular from Ted Cord that stuck out at me when he
That
introduced
square
his
mouth
sister.
where
His
it
jaw
looks
just
like One
dropped at
Piece.
something she said.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. Introducing Victoria Court, I think, is a very nice touch and good timing with the movie coming out next year, and Victoria Court being a player in the movie. It's going to be interesting to see how she plays out in this book compared to in the movie, being, I believe, a new character in total. Uh, yeah,
Yes.
it's
As far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, I know shockingly little about Ted Kord's past, so honestly, I don't even know if he had any siblings before this.
Yeah, I wasn't sure
Holy
either.
shit, there's something Brandon doesn't know. That's
Yeah.
mind blowing.
I'm no Blue Beetle expert, honestly. That's one of my blind spots.
All right, we have to go on a Justice League International reading spree.
I know.
There we
All
go.
right, just
Need
pause
some
when we get
blue
to
and
one
gold in
punch
your
and then
life,
take a
man.
break.
Yeah. I should read more Blue Beetle.
What did you give it, Rob, this issue?
I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. I rather enjoyed it. I think it's a good series so far. I also wish it was an ongoing, but here we are.
Here we are. Well, I mean, so the art in this one was a little exaggerated, a little bright, a little clown like, and that's where we're going next with Harley Quinn number 25 and our ever enigmatic and energy filled Rob, full of health, is going to tell us all about Harley Quinn number 25.
See, and here I thought you were going to say going from multiple Beetles to multiple Harleys, but
Oh, damn, I missed it.
I saw it in my mind's eye like the last minute.
And if you had the number for that energy-filled Rob, give him a call. Tell him to take my place.
Yeah.
Great.
It's long distance.
All right, this is Harley Quinn number 25. I do not believe it's one of my first issues I read, so I don't remember if it was an oversized anniversary issue like they used to do, but I don't believe it was. And this one is written by Stephanie Phillips with art from Matteo Lolli and David Baldion, with colors from Rain Burrito, letters from Darren Bennett, and a cover from Lolli and Burrito. Simply put, Harley and Old Lady Harley go up against Killer Frank Miller Harley in a fight for survival that ends in Harleys from all over the multiverse appearing at once, including the famous and mysterious Mermaid Harley. And I had a lot of fun picking out different Harleys from across the multiverse. There were
I
a lot
know.
of cute ones.
I did too.
Like
I was
I'd
trying
rather-
to figure out who they all were.
Yeah.
And there was
I
a
gave them
Pirate
all
Harley.
names.
I think there
There's
was a.
Old Lady Harley, our
I
Harley.
think maybe
Harley
the
Mike.
Beatos Harley.
Yep, Beatos
I was
Harley
thinking
was
Beatos
there.
Harley, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Smart
want to
Kid
say.
Harley. Arkham Harley from Arkham
Yeah.
Knights. That's what it kind of looked like to me from the game.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And then the ones that really messed me up were, I don't know, I call them Bat Harley and Demon Harley.
yeah,
But they
that,
look
that
cool.
might be the best way to put it. Maybe like a man bat version of Harley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed the art in this one. It is a lot of fun, really simple. The book is a fun little romp with promise of more fun to come going forward. I'm really enjoying it. And if I remember right, I think in issue 28 it's supposed to be New Direction. So that's kind of confusing for me. I don't know, because I'm really enjoying this direction. I don't know if I'm ready for a new one. Now,
It seems
8.75
like
for
that's-
this.
That's,
I
it
really
seems like
liked
that's
it.
what the whole point of this is set up a transition for Harley.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely
Unfortunately.
possible.
I liked where she was going though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I also dug this issue too. I will admit the whole multiversal Harleys at the end did kind of throw me for a loop because we started this story with, as like a murder mystery, like, okay, who killed Harley Quinn? And now we have our answer, and now it's just gotten even crazier. And at first I was like, I don't really know. That seems a little too wild. But then, I mean, I guess this is Harley Quinn, so it kind of makes sense that they're going to go absolutely nuts with a murder mystery type story. So I think it's fair enough. I'll just see how they stick the landing with everything. But it was fun seeing Old Lady Harley at the beginning fight against the weird Frank Miller Gothic one. And just seeing how the Old Lady Harley and then the younger Harley kind of get along in their ways was really fun too. This one, solid issue. Not sure how they're going to wrap this whole thing up, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Wait and see is about all we can do.
Pretty much.
I still can't handle the Harley who laughs. Coincidentally, neither can young Harley. And the dynamic between old and young Harley was fantastic. I really liked it. I want to see a little bit. I want to get introduced to a couple of these weird Harleys at the end of it, especially Mermaid Harley, because of how much Harley wanted that. Where is this all going to go? None of us fucking know, but it is good. It is fun. Only problem is that I only enjoyed about half of the art I seen, especially in the first few pages of the book. It was really hard for me to look at Harley's face. It got better as the issue went on, but initially I was really thrown off. So I gave Harley Quinn number 25 a 7.5 out of 10. And we're going to go ahead and keep the clown theme going. I am talking about our next issue being Punchline Gotham Game, number 3 of 6. So we are now halfway through this mini. Written by Teeny Howard and Blake Howard. Are they husband and wife or sister and brother?
Yes,
They're
yeah,
brothers.
husband
Sister
and
brother,
wife.
right? Oh, they
No,
are
husband and wife, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Because I learned that actually they did a Vampire the Masquerade comic. I don't know if you guys ever played that game. Like a couple
Long
years
time
ago. And they were just like, oh yeah, husband and wife team. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. You don't really see that
That's
too
cool.
often.
No, you don't. So they were doing the writing, and Max Rayner was on the art. Luis Guerrero on colors, lettering from Becca Carey, and Vasco Llorente brought us that crazy cool cover. And it is both definitely crazy and pretty cool. So this is a quick one. Let's just get into it. While the devastation from the Ace Chemicals explosion racks most of Gotham, looks like Onyx busted up King of the Royal Flush Gang a whole lot more than I thought over in Catwoman, because we see Professor Pig having to sew his face back together in genuine classic Professor Pig style. He looks horrible. At Royal Flush headquarters, Jack, previously Knave, is practicing with the new hardware he has, courtesy of Punchline taking his eye out, before getting into a fight with Bluff, that Bluff picks, who just happens to be, if you don't remember, Bluff just happens to be the somewhat, kinda, sorta, but really not boyfriend of Cullen Rowe, the little brother of one Harper Rowe, aka Bluebird. Speaking of which, Bluebird happens to track down Punchline, starts whooping her ass, and that's until Punchline throws a bunch of dismembered body parts at her. Those body parts, I do believe, belong to the dead body that was talking mad smack to Punchline while she was trying to get rid of said body. And she's pretty sure it's because she's tripping out on all the chemicals she's been exposed to and has been huffing XO. Later, Bluff texts Cullen to meet up to help Cullen go look for his sister, and it's a trap. That was for my Star Wars friends out there. Bluff grabs and holds on to Cullen while Punchline stands in front of him, holding a knife and wearing a smile. That's the book, and though I feel like I blew through it super fast when I read it, I did have a lot of fun with it. I'm seriously tired of Punchline, but this run is not bad. It's actually pretty damn good. I kind of like the idea of Teeny and Blake just handling the Narrows stories of Gotham. They've been doing great so far, and I can't wait to see what comes next. While the art isn't flawless, it is so nice to look at. I look forward to the next one, man. It's a good book, so I gave Punchline an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, this is like the surprise winner of the past couple months because I think we all kind of came in with mid to low expectations for a Punchline book after
Oh,
they
yeah.
just kind of exhausted that story in Joker, and here I am 3 issues in and I'm still like hooked on the story, which is impressive. Um, I just have to say, for anyone who needs surgical operations, don't ever go to Professor Pig. Like, why? I know you might be desperate, but come on. Like, you've seen the Dollatrons. You know how horrifying they look. But no, in all seriousness, just really great stuff here. And I was excited to see Harper again because, I mean, they kind of set up Punchline as Harper's Joker, which I think is a really cool concept. And here they're really just
Yes.
playing with it even more. And now that, Bluff and Punchline have Cullen, I'm sure she's going to be, tearing hell through Gotham trying to get him back. But yeah, no, everything here was just really exciting and engaging as it has been for the past couple issues. And I'm looking forward to seeing how everything's going to ramp up, and I was also impressed at how well it tied into everything that was going on with Catwoman, which I did have I missed it the last time you guys reviewed it, but I did have a chance to read that and I enjoyed it, so it was nice to see how well it tied in here. um,
Yes.
But yeah, no, aside from that, really good stuff. So I gave this one an 8.25 out of 10.
All right, Rob, where are
Review
you at?
on Professor Pig's plastic surgery laboratory is just different accounts for Professor Pig, giving
Oh
himself five
God,
stars, except for one review, and that's from
totally
Flamingo
would.
celebrating about the leftovers.
Oh man, yeah, I totally
Oh,
would.
um, honestly, with this, the plot thickens. Maybe I'm kind of unsure what's going on right now. I'm still enjoying it. It is a surprise hit for me, but things seem to be just happening, and I don't know why. It is cool to see Harper back and Cullen. I'm happy they're in the story. Um, but Punchline seems to just be doing things like a dog chasing cars, but she doesn't know what to do when she get one.
well,
For all you Dark Knight
it,
fans out there. Yeah.
yes.
So it's
I
it's kind of a weird spot for me. I gave it an 8 out of 10 because I am enjoying it. It's got an interesting
Mhm.
story and good art. I just don't know what the story is yet, and we're
Yeah,
halfway
well,
through a
you're
miniseries.
sort of like
stories.
one of her henchmen, 1-0, who's like, "What's the game?" And I think
Yeah,
maybe one thing we might see is that maybe Punchline doesn't even know what the game is. She's just sort of acting like she does, which I think could also be kind of an interesting revelation that maybe she's not as clever as she projects herself as.
oh maybe. I mean
Or
that
she's
feels
not
like a
as
cop out.
crazy as she
Yeah.
thinks she is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too definitely, which I
I
think
mean,
is
she
also
was
probably true.
literally hearing the Joker's voice in a dead body.
Mhm.
I think she might be pretty freaking crazy.
Or she was tripping balls. I mean, there's only
Yeah,
one
that
way to
is
Oh,
find
that's
true.
out.
true. She was huffing a lot of XO.
Hmm.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, speaking of odd sidekicks that were a sidekick, then weren't a sidekick, and then might become a sidekick again, we're going to take a look at the. I won't describe it in other than saying that it is the next book we're going to review. Brandon's going to tell us all about Tim Drake Robin #4.
That I am, and to be honest, I don't know that there's that much to tell, but I will do my best. This is Tim Drake Robin #4, the sidekick that may not be a sidekick, as Josh said, written by Megan Fitzmartin with art from Riley Rosmo, colors from Lee Lowridge, and letters from Tom Napolitano. Not too much to say. Tim is still investigating the mystery of the Deerstalker cap that he got as a mysterious present in the previous issue, and is trying to figure out more about that. Comes to a certain revelation about it, and does some more investigation on these connections to the detective stories, the past. Ends up teaming with the Batgirls, and they find their way to a mysterious room somewhere, and then ultimately end up fighting one of the strange projections that the villain who's obsessed with these mysteries has been having. This time, fighting a goldfish from one of the Raymond Chandler stories, Goldfish. Before having to deal with that in a rather disgusting way. And then, ultimately, the revelation of who the villain actually is, which we don't get a name just yet, but all that he says is that he will be the best villain that Gotham has ever seen and will be the most worthy opponent that Robin could ever face. So. I guess we'll see how that all plays out. Story wise, it is perfectly serviceable. The first issue was I think we've already talked about that to death. The second one was better, so at the very least, I can say that the story was improving. But it's not getting anywhere. It's more just like spinning wheels with a mystery that is really not that compelling, which is a shame because mysteries should be really exciting, really engaging stories. But here, it's just kind of like, okay, great. I know you're there now. Cool. Can we move on? Um, so yeah, that's sort of how I'm feeling. The art from Riley Rasmo has its moments, for me at least, where some of them look pretty decent, and then some of them look like Tim has a pear for a head, which is just a little odd. So it's inconsistent, though I do actually really like the way that he renders the Batgirls. It almost makes me wish he'd do an issue of Batgirl, which I know would make Josh's head spin. But aside from
No
that,
fucking way.
I yeah, aside from that, it's okay. It's perfectly okay. It just doesn't really offer anything, I don't know, gripping or anything that I'm really attached to. So I gave this one a 7 out of 10.
All right. How about you, Rob?
Yes, it's so we finally have a villain, but they seem as cookie cutter as the rest. I don't
Yeah.
it's not an exciting character to really reveal on, and the story has kind of just been dragging. They spent 4 issues and a one shot talking about this mystery revolving around mystery stories, and it's taken Tim Drake so long to figure stuff out, and everyone else has figured it out before him, and he's just kind of jumped on their bandwagon. For someone who's supposed to be the real world's greatest detective, as much as Wally is the real world's fastest man alive, it feels like a bit of a cop out for the character. But again, that might just be me. I don't know. I'm not really enjoying this still. I hope the next story arc is a lot better. I'll see where
Mhm.
it goes. 6.5 out of 10 for now.
Hmm. All right. Yeah. First, Rosmo should never draw the Batgirls. Second, I cannot believe my buddies over at Weird Science Comics podcast review, Eric over there, he actually chose Tim Drake #3 as his book of the week last month when that came
Oh
out.
my
That's
god.
insane. So, quick rant, and then I'm just going to go off here. They show Tim using his superior detective skills to solve a mystery that could only be invented for him. It feels like super lazy writing. There's no mystery or real detective story. Everything falls into place always right at the right time soon as he runs into it. A whole bunch of focus is still on Bernard, and this version of Bernard blows. This new villain,
Both versions of Bernard blow, but this one blows even more.
you haven't seen Titans, you don't know.
I thought you were talking about the
Oh,
old
the
one
old
from
one?
the Robin
No,
run.
fuck
Yeah,
that.
the
No,
We know all
man.
three
Ashton
versions
Kutcher
of Bernard
character.
Blows. Who knows?
Yes.
uh, so we have a new invented arch nemesis for Tim. Cool, but this might be the dumbest intro to a villain that I have seen in a very long time. What makes a good villain? Having an enemy, a cool costume, and a cool name. Well, they don't give us the name, and it's way too early to call him an arch nemesis, especially
Yeah.
considering how this will all likely be wrapped up in a pretty little bow for no reason, like all the other Tim Drake stuff that we've gotten in recent history. Oh, oh, and he pulls all of the clues that he gets this issue out of his books, but specifically books that he does not have, but knows every word and every letter by memory, so he can spit out what the 72nd word is on the 300th page. So, I, Tim Drake, who knew he had a superpower, reading books that
He
he was
has
not in
eidetic
possession of.
memory, I guess, although I don't remember him ever having that before. I know
No,
Barbara had
that's
eidetic memory,
yeah,
but
that's Barbara, not Tim. So you add all of that to the fact that this is Rosmo's best work, and it still makes me sick to look at it. I mean, we're all huge Tim fans, but is this a limited series? Because
they said ongoing, but I don't see it
oh,
lasting past 10.
yeah, I don't know how much more of this shit I could take. Rosmo should draw children's books, and Fitzgerald should write uh, travel brochures. The whole thing is bullshit. Ricardo Lopez Ortiz did a fantastic cover for this book, which is what brought the score all the way up to 1.5 out of 10.
Jeez, that's abysmally low.
And so is the book.
Oh my god. The funny thing is that ending where he's like monologuing about, being the perfect villain. It reminded me of the opening to Batman R.I.P., where they're chasing this random, like, nobody who's like, oh, I want to be the perfect villain, and you gotta have a costume and cool stuff. And that was literally played for a joke because the guy's a tool. But here they're trying to play it as like so dramatic, and it just made me laugh.
Mhm. And that's about all it's worth. If you can stand looking at it, is for a laugh to see how bad comic books can get. And normally we wait a little while for the commercial break until after the spotlight, but we do only have 4 more books to review, I believe. So we're going to go ahead and take that commercial break right now, and we will be back in just a minute. We are back. Thanks for sticking around. Know you had to listen to me more on this podcast and then again on the commercial. I apologize for that. And let me make it up to you by covering the next 4 books. I'm going to start up the spotlight round, which is where we are at right now, with a book and characters that we have not seen in a very long time. Sandman Universe presents The Dead Boy Detectives #1. Dear sir or ma'am, I am going to fuck your name up and I apologize. But I believe it is written by Pornshak Pincheshote. I believe that's how you
Yes,
say it.
Pornsak Pishashot. That is,
Pincheshote.
yeah, trust me. So that one, the first time I saw it, because he did a book called The Good Asian, and
I
I saw
remember
that
that.
name and I was like, oh my God, no, that I'm gonna butcher this so bad. But thankfully he's very like good about it when he does interviews and stuff. So yeah, it's Pornsak Pishashot.
All right. I wasn't too far off. That's cool.
No, you're pretty spot on.
All right. Well, that's who it was written by. And art came from Jeff Stokely, colors from Miguel Muerto, which, let's be honest, perfect last name for working on this book. And lettering came from Hassan Atsmane Al How, with the cover a really, really good one by somebody that's new to me, Nimit Malavia, excuse me, or Malavia, depending on where they're from. In any case, so Sandman Universe isn't something that we usually cover, but I used to love these characters. They're great characters, and it's a #1, so deal with it. The stars of this book are, of course, Edwin Payne and Charles Rowland, two young boys who love to solve mysteries and just so happen to be dead. The book itself starts out with a little bit of gore that Rob absolutely loved before introducing our titular characters. A brief history of what happened from Edwin. He was killed by some boys at the school that were trying to summon demons. Years later, he comes back, so do the boys, and he gets to watch them do the exact same thing to Charles. Now we're back in the present, and the boys are on their way to a mystery and their client, Jai Sirikul. And what is funny is that they were hired by Jai's younger neighbor who pays the detectives, who keep in mind they are very old and unaware. They get the little boy pays them with a rare foil magic trading card. They don't know what it is, but they assume it's worth something. So off they go. They find the client and her friends, who also just happen to be ghosts from Thai culture, which has hundreds of different kinds of ghosts, not just the one that Western culture typically believes in. The mystery. So, as it is explained to us in the book, if a Thai dies in the Western culture areas, they should only appear as a Western culture ghost. But they aren't doing that, and there are loads of them showing up all over Los Angeles. After all of this is revealed, we find out that Thai ghosts disappear at dawn because they're only nocturnal, and they can feel pain because they're completely corporeal. We also find out that Dom, the ghost doctor, taking care of some Thai ghosts and investigating the rest of the occurrences, lies to Edwin about something we don't know yet. Edwin leaves and then comes immediately back to say something and stumbles upon a decapitated Don just attacked by the gory monster we saw at the start of this issue. Also, it looks like the main baddie here is going to be a 3,000-year-old witch named Thessaly. This book is everything that I hoped it would be, and I will be reading every issue as long as it keeps it up. The art is freaking great. The story is set up very well, and I just had one hell of a time. Maybe this is me fanboning. That is not an okay word
Fan
to use.
boning. Whoa.
Maybe this is me just being a huge fan of some characters I haven't seen in a long time. I'm just going to avoid that word now. And the lettering in this, I know I don't usually compliment that, but it is fantastic and very easy to read. Thank you so much for that. I loved this book, and I gave it an 8.75 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, no, there's no problem with fan boning. Just make sure you do it, in your own home. But that being said, no, I also had
Agreed.
I also had a great time with this book. I think one of the nice things about some of the Sandman universe books is that, a lot of them are reviving some of the old properties from the original Sandman stuff, but they're also, fresh starts, so you can kind of come in without knowing too much. Which, if you're someone like me whose biggest and often most critical blind spot, or at least critical, others are critical, is the Sandman universe. I never really got into that world as much as so many people have told me to. But these books have been nice in that they're pretty clean introductions, and they're don't require a lot of like previous knowledge. So I could just kind of enjoy this for what it was, which was a surprisingly darker book than I expected. Although I guess with a title like Dead Boy Detectives, I probably should have expected some grim stuff in there. But that being said, no, really good. Really just kind of, I guess, thrilling start to this whole mystery, and I'm wondering what kind of other stuff they're going to bring into it, other kind of mythological stuff they might bring into it. But I guess we'll have to see. Um, but yeah, no, I also enjoyed this one as well, and I give this an 8 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. And Rob, am I right in assuming that you did not get past the first page?
Are correct, because my stomach's been a bit finicky all week with nausea.
Yeah.
Normally gore is fine for me, but that first page made me a little too queasy for comfort, so I really
Well,
couldn't get past it.
Yeah.
It really
That's
wasn't that
strange.
bad, but
The
it's just this
the
week.
yeah,
Yeah.
the gore in that very small panel down at the bottom of the front page is it's good that you stopped there, because if you would have flipped the page, there was one more large panel of something
It was
more
even worse.
gruesome.
Oh,
So
I did, because I rushed past the first page and I jumped right to the
Oh,
second, and I
man.
instantly
Oh,
closed
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Just for the record, the rest of the book stays very clean until the end, where Dom gets decapitated.
That's good.
Yeah.
But
Other
I'll just
than
jump to
that-
the third page.
There you go. There you go. So I'm assuming we're gonna go with a nada out of 10 for you.
For now, I'll give it a cough out of 10 temporarily.
I'll give it a
Cough,
please don't make me
cough.
sick out of 10.
Yeah.
Um,
A cough out of 10. What a
Yeah.
stellar review, Rob. And speaking of stellar, I am going to go ahead and have you take us to space. Deep space. Where plenty of lanterns have gone before. John Stewart, the Emerald Knight #1. Tell us all about it, Rob.
Assist, I guess. Yes, this is John Stewart, the Emerald Knight #1, the long-awaited one-shot follow-up to Geoffrey Thorne's 12-issue series from last year. And as stated, this is written by Geoffrey Thorne with art from Marco Santucci, colors from Michael Atiyeh, letters from Rob Lee, and I believe a very gorgeous cover from Matthias Manhanini. So, bear with me, this is going to be a little long and troublesome considering my cough. John brings his fellow Lanterns in the Dark Sector up against Isak across all the planets he is trying to take. By sharing his power, John creates orbs for each Lantern to hold, granting them limited capabilities such as flight and force fields. After failing to protect a planet from destruction, except for a small city aboard, Lonar arrives to give a bit more info. Great timing, Lonar. Isak's plan involves taking the life energy from the Dark Sector to recreate the new gods into their original forms, as he does not like the evolution each god has taken. In addition, it is revealed where all these planets came from. Hypertime. They are copies of planets that already exist, or don't anymore, from alternate universe branches, and upon planning the next mission, John's power is being spread too thin, so he uses his power to fashion 8 energy swords to bring specific lanterns with him. These swords offer more power and abilities, but will not sap as much of his power. Together they go to the next planet being attacked by Isak, but is not one John ever would have suspected. It's Xanshi. The lanterns fly in hard and fast, with John going straight for Isak, but he is ultimately captured, so Isak can siphon his power away, except he is not at full power, not because of the swords, but because he is split into 2 different Johns, thanks to hypertime, I think. There are now 2 John Stewarts, and together they trick Isak into taking a godly evolution, preventing him from killing again. At the end, one John takes the lanterns back to the core, and the other John stays behind in the Dark Sector to help liberate the rest of the planets. And when John is done, in the Dark Sector, he will look for his wife Katmatui. And as Lonar says, end chapter 1. So, okay, I'll read my notes in reverse order, because I kind of just went off. Ultimately, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. I'm curious if we will ever see this Emerald Knight again, or just simply follow Green Lantern John going forward. Also, that being said, which one ended up in Dark Crisis? I assume the one that went back to Oa. Are they even? I don't even remember if they're on Oa anymore or if they're on Mogo.
Mhm.
I don't
That
think
whole
they're on
thing is
either.
Yeah,
confusing.
well, I remember from the Justice League 75 issue that it said, in the panel where he gets sapped away, that he was like in Oa orbit. So I assume that's the one.
Okay. Okay, so that's probably it.
Uh-huh.
Hypertime kind of explained in such a way makes it feel much smaller than it has, and I feel like that's not really it because it feels way too easy. Um, and Zanshi and Kat Matui, I think is a horrible. Oh no, hang on. I kind of just started this mid thought. I wrote this down mid thought, and I don't know where I was going with it. Um, yeah, John going to find his wife, Kat Matui, I think is a horrible idea because if she was a GL in this alternate universe, then she's not necessarily on the planet. And if she wasn't the GL, then she has no clue who he is, and it's going to end badly. Like, I get it, go for it, as long as John knows and understands the history they shared is still gone, and it's going to be a very difficult road. And there's a good chance she might not even accept him,
Yeah,
right?
or
So,
have like a completely different, romantic life.
or even a completely different personality.
Yeah.
Like it's there's the possibilities are endless. Like by all means go for it, but it seems like a very risky idea. And
Mhm.
if we ever see it happen again and it ends up being simple, I'm gonna call bullshit. But that's just
Yeah.
me, as I keep saying. Uh I kind of enjoyed the art. There was a lot of cool sequences, but a lot of it was confusing. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. Like I said, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. It is kind of just there, and I
Mhm.
don't think I understood half of it.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
Yeah,
no, I'm right there with you where I think there are like kernels of interesting ideas, but I don't know. I mean, Lord knows we've seen the idea of having two characters exist simultaneously, despite how different they may be or how similar they may be, played out in other stories, and it always kind of ends up being messy. So I'm not thrilled about the idea here, especially given they're going to have a John centric book alongside a Hal centric book next year, which I think will be, yeah, I hope it will be good. But I don't know, because I assume that's going to follow, the John that returned, not the Emerald Knight who's out there. But yeah, I don't know. I think there, like I said, there's like kernels of interesting ideas, but ultimately it just kind of wasn't all that well put together, like a lot of the rest of the run. So yeah, the art was good though. I will give it that. It had some really nice looking moments, but aside from that, yeah, I don't know. And they still did not explain how a lot of the core were just back to the way that they were in Dark Crisis. I guess we'll just never know. I really think they were kind of just like, yeah, we don't really care about what happened to this Green Lantern run. We just want things back to normal. So we're just gonna wipe all that away for Dark Crisis, which, hey, so be it. But yeah, no, this was not that great, honestly. So
all
I
right.
gave this one a 6.75 out of 10.
I gotta ask you guys questions because I feel like I picked up a totally different thing than y'all did. I was under the impression that the Emerald Knight was from our universe, from the main DC universe. The Lanterns all lost their powers. John ascended,
yeah,
got the God power, shared that with all the
Mhm.
people. Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, are which one stayed behind then? Because I'm under the impression that we that we retained the Emerald Knights. Are,
So I'm differentiating it by the costume they wear because there's one that doesn't wear sleeves, and the one that doesn't wear sleeves is the one from our universe, and he's the
Yeah.
one that stayed behind. The one with sleeves went back to Oa, but I'm assuming, and this is where it got confusing for me because I think he's from Hyper Time. I think that's how they explained it, but I'm not entirely sure. But they also mentioned how John's power was split between the two of them, I think. So it made me
Yeah,
feel like
no,
it's just a
he
copy.
split. He split
Yeah.
the. They're not copies. They got pulled in from the hyper. They got pulled in from another multiverse through hyper time. That's the way that I read it.
Oh, the planets,
Now,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
we've got a whole. We've got brand new John, and we've got his lanterns, and then we've got Emerald Knight John and his orb guys,
Yeah.
and we kept the Emerald Knight, and the rest of them are gone. Yes,
Oh, the rest of them went back to Oa.
Yeah.
So
our
there's two
Oa
Johns
or
out in the universe
Our
right
no,
now.
it had to be our Oa because that John
Yeah.
was pulled into Justice League 75.
Yeah. So there's two Johns in our universe right now. One in
Yeah.
uh, the 3600 sectors and one in the dark sectors.
Yeah.
all right.
That's what I got from it.
See, the way that I read it was that I thought that the lanterns, including Lantern John, went back to where they came from, and I thought that our John just stayed on that Oa, which was in our universe, to be with his wife.
Oh,
That's
it's
what
still
I
all this universe. It's just a different
Yes.
part of this universe.
gotcha.
Exactly.
Um, well, I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read my opinion of it, the way that I interpreted it, and I guess maybe, hopefully, we'll find out which one of us is right. I didn't have a whole lot of confusion, the way that I read it, but there were a couple of questions that I did have. Ken's calls someone a pastiche, and I could have sworn that that was just a Zarnian word. I only remember hearing Lobo use it. Maybe I'm wrong though. Um, and was that Ken's that said end chapter 1 in the last panel? Or was that Lonar? That was
Ooh,
Lonar.
I don't even remember.
All right. I thought it. I couldn't tell if it was Lonar or Ken's because all you can see is the mouth. I thought it was pretty good wrap up for what I thought was a very underwhelming long ass story in the making. I did enjoy the wrap up from it. Regardless, that core went from lantern rings to John swords, and I think it kind of works for me. I'm under the impression I was under the impression that those are the lanterns that we're going to have. That we no longer really have Green Lanterns. We've got orb dudes. Not sure. That's the way I took it. You guys are probably right. But there is still a whole bunch to unpack here, and I'm hoping that we get a lot more answers in the upcoming John book. I did like it. Oops, there went the phone. I did like it for what I interpreted it to be, and I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Like I said, the whole thing's just bloody confusing though. So
Yeah.
who knows what's really going on? And honestly, who knows if it's even going to have a follow up? Because the future
Anybody
is,
getting
is
Black
so
Star's
I don't
files?
know.
confusing. Like we're getting a
Mm.
Green Lantern John Stewart series next year, but from Philip Kennedy Johnson.
Yeah.
Is he going to follow the same story, or is he going to write a new one? Who knows?
Like
It's-
my guess would be it's just gonna follow John, like the regular John, the one who went back to whatnot, the Emerald Knight. So for all we know, the Emerald Knight will just be out there searching for Kat Matui forever, and we'll
Yeah.
never know what happened to him.
Well, that's
until
just
the next
dumb.
crisis.
Yeah, until the next crisis.
Well, I guess that the one thing that we can all agree on about the Emerald Knight is that it is definitely a mystery. And speaking of mysteries, let's go to the whole home of them in DC Comics with Detective Comics number 1067. Brandon, take it away.
My pleasure, and yes, what a mystery it is. Although this mystery is really starting to unfold into something a lot more clear, at least in this issue. But this was Detective Comics 1067, as you said, written by Ram V with art from Ivan Reis, inks from Danny Miki, colors from Dave Stewart, and letters from Ariana Marr. This is another one that I have to do on the fly, but bear with me. Batman breaks free from the ice trap that Freeze had left him in the last issue, thanks to the thermal device that's in his belt or whatever it is, and is able to fall into the stream that's under Gotham sewers before he turns up in one of the clearer parts of the sewer and is dragged off by a unsuspecting Mr. Freeze at the site of Arkham Asylum. Arzen Arkham is talking about greatness and the plans that he to bring to Gotham, and as a token of good faith and a token of the greatness that he plans to bring, he is going to start construction on Orgham Place, which will be on the site of Gotham City. But in reality, this is all a ruse because they have bigger plans, as we saw in the Detective Comics annual from last month, using the reality engine that was under the chapel, which they are going to use to bring Gotham back to what the Orgums had originally intended. Meanwhile, in Mr. Freeze's Ice Kingdom, as he calls it, or his Kingdom of Cold, um, he's basically filling Batman in on why he saved his life and how things have changed, and is sort of giving Batman the same speech that he's been getting a lot lately, which is that Gotham is changing, and you have to wonder if whatever it changes into is going to accept the version of Batman that he is right now, or if it's time to become something new, which I think is fitting for this story. It's all about metamorphosis and evolving.
Yep.
Arzen Orgum is ready to exact his plans and has dispatched all of his followers on their own various missions. Shavad is meeting with some of the investors at Gotham or at Wayne Enterprises and all that stuff, and they're talking about what they want to do with the Narrows, and they're a bit hesitant because the Narrows, despite being a kind of crime-ridden area, is important, an important social area for the Wayne Enterprises crew. But Shavad, using some mysterious mask, is able to talk them out of whatever plans they had and make sure that the Narrows end up in the hands of the Orgham family. Meanwhile, Arzen makes his way over to Bruce's apartment, his brownstone in Gotham City, and talks to him about some of the stuff that he would like to do for the city, given how similar they are, that they both lost family members and both have been shaped by tragedy. But just as they're getting down to discussing what they might actually do with all their power and wealth to change the city, they find out that the city is run amok, and specifically the Narrows are under intense fire right now, and Batman has to leap to the scene. But as he goes, he gives Arzen an answer to the question of what exactly he would do with his wealth, and that's to try and build people up from the shadows so that they might have the hope to continue. And in our backup story, Two Face continues to struggle with his own stuff, his own mental stuff, but he finally achieves a kind of peace with the Two Face persona, or if you remember from BTAS, the big bad Harv persona. I just recently rewatched that Two Face episode, so it's still in my mind. And
Big
sort of learns
bad
to
heart.
embrace him a little bit more, and in doing so, is able to spare the life of the doctor who helped him, Doctor Mead, while also keeping the uh, oh my god, I'm forgetting the name. Oh, keeping the asthma that's kept within his brain right now quiet, and keeping that music quiet as well. So it seems like Harvey is slowly working towards a kind of a peace right now. But this issue is just keeping the mystery going. Although, as I said, we're finding out a little bit more, about what the Orgums are really planning for the city, and I'm just absolutely in love with it. Um, and I really loved it. Wasn't we didn't get too much time on it, but I love the parallels that they were drawing between Arzen and Bruce, given they're both kind of shaped by tragedy, but they're both trying to exact their vision on Gotham City, and it's really a contest of whose vision will determine the shape of the city. And it looks like the Orgums might have the upper hand at the moment, but if we know Batman, we know he'll pull through in the end. But I love that the brief kind of comparisons that we had towards the end of the issue where they're talking to each other at Bruce's brownstone. So I'm still like just hooked into this, and I just am in awe of how good Detective Comics has been so far. And I just can't wait to see what kind of crescendo the story's going to have. And I'm hoping that Ron V is kind of settling in for a decent run of detective. I've heard rumblings that maybe this run won't be that long, and I really hope that's not true because I
Me too.
haven't been this invested in detective in a while. But I guess
Long time.
as we've been saying so far, we'll have to wait and see. So this one got a 9 out of 10 for me. I'm so plugged into this book right now.
It's funny how you're mentioning the parallels between the tragedy that shaped Orgum and Wayne, because I
Hmm.
feel like we're actually getting that twofold. We're seeing Bruce's counterpart in Orgum, and as it was pointed out, Mr. Freeze is kind of a parallel with Batman as well.
Yeah, yeah. They
Them
call
each
Gotham
having their own
City Bruce's
his
Nora, which is like, oh my god, that's so juicy. Um, yeah.
there's a lot of parallels going on, and I dig it. Ram V's detective just keeps getting better. While the beginning of this run was a little difficult for some to get into, all of it has led to this place where I feel like it's really pushing a damn good detective story. Most of the
Hmm.
art is fucking fantastic. There were some faces I didn't like, but mostly minor stuff. Again, I really dug the parallels that we saw. That's the first part of the issue with the backup. Holy Christ. Man, Spurrier has me going, what? And then, what now? And then, God damn it. And then, oh man, give me the next issue. The
Yeah.
art is, I'm so invested in this internal struggle between Harvey Dent and Two Face. And the way that it progressed in this issue was just fantastic. Um, though I don't get into backups, man, but this has me excited, and I don't say that about books anymore.
Mm.
Uh, Detective Comics 1067 front and back total 9 out of 10.
Solid issue,
Hey Rob,
beautiful art
there you go.
throughout, even in the backup. A very interesting chapter. Cool to see a lot of things happening right now. Some more of the plans are coming through for the Orgums, but like you said, Josh, it is a true detective story because we don't know what's going on, and neither does Batman. He's got to figure it out fast. But every chance he gets a little bit more fucked up. And
Yeah.
flying into
Yeah.
fire does not seem to be a good option. Which, speaking of
No.
parallels, considering he was frozen at the end of the last issue and now he's flying into fire, it's a little interesting how that's laid out. Uh,
Hmm.
Mr. Freeze showing respect and assistance, I think, is a good light on him. He doesn't need to be a hero. He just wants to be left alone. Him just being there, I think, is a good way for the character because I never really saw him as
Yep.
a villain. To be honest with you, he was only ever
Hmm.
out there to help his wife, and now his wife doesn't want him anymore. So what's his reason for being? Yeah, he's got to figure that out if he
Yeah.
even has one. So I think this is an interesting way to place him. I'm so here for this book. 8.75 out of 10.
Yeah. I feel
Hell
like we
yeah.
need a really good freeze story after this, given where his mind is at right now.
That is not a one bad day story.
Yes, that is not a one bad day story.
Please. Um, I would love to see a current Mr. Freeze story too. I really would. Um, I would like to see something with a lot of thought, a lot of internal dialogue, and I know that sounds weird for me to say. I want a lot of emotion, and there needs
Hmm.
to be a lot of action in it too. And speaking of action, we are on our last book, the one everybody wants to hear about this week, Action
All
Comics number
right.
1050. Rob, you want to tell us about that?
Sure. I was gonna say gladly, but I do. I do. It's just hard. All right. So this is Action 1050, the long-awaited anniversary issue. It's supposed to be a lot of new changes coming forth, as it says on the cover. A new era rises. So this is written by Messrs. Philip Kennedy Johnson, Tom Taylor, and Joshua Williamson, with art from Mike Perkins, Clayton Henry, and Nick Dragota. with colors from Frank Martin throughout, letters from Dave Sharp throughout, and a cover, beautiful cover from Steve Beach. I think this one also had a flurry of covers too, didn't it? Something was this one of the
Yeah.
ones that had like
Mm-hmm.
26 covers?
Mhm. Something like that, yeah.
Ridiculous amounts.
All right, simply put, to start, Lex has captured Manchester Black. Sorry, I will go through this as simply as I can, and is threatening to kill him. Not so much threatening, more as promising, because while Manchester Black is kind of betraying Lex, Lex kind of betrayed Manchester Black too. By having him hooked up to a machine, he's going to siphon the now super powered brain of his. Instead of just regular powered, now it's super powered because apparently he got a boost of juice over on Warworld. And he siphons it out of his brain into a machine, which sends a purple shockwave throughout the planet, which hits everywhere except the Kent farm because it's protected by a shield thanks to the Justice League. As Superman and John are on a mission in India to stop a dam from breaking. Perry shows up at the Kent farm, and as Clark and John show up as the two Supermen, Perry looks a little concerned and confused, and as Clark walks up to him in Superman costume, Perry gets really confused, and Perry is unsure why everyone is calling Superman Clark. And as Superman calls himself Clark, Perry has a stroke and passes out. They rush him to a hospital, and then they find out that... no, they don't find out there, sorry. Oh, I'm so out of it right now. That they find out that he had the stroke. But then Clark gets a very loud signal, and he flies off towards LexCorp, where none other than Lex himself has fashioned himself a signal watch, but upped the ante and made it really, really powerful to the point that it messes with Clark's hearing. And then Lex reveals that everything is because of him. Nobody remembers his identity, and Lex is going to be the better Superman. And as Lex reveals... Oh, I think I passed it. There we go. He did block Clark's secret identity from everyone except his son and his wife, as far as he knows. He said, "You're lucky I let you keep the marriage, you know," which I thought was such a great dig at Marvel. For one more day.
Seriously.
That was brilliant.
Wait,
but then he says the boy is questionable.
Here. What do you guys mean for a non-Marvel reader? What's that term?
From Spider-Man One More Day.
the Spider-Man thing.
Oh,
where
okay.
His identity was also wiped.
Yeah. Okay.
And they took his
right.
marriage.
Sorry. Completely forgot.
Yeah. But then Lex says the boy is questionable, which enrages Clark and uppercuts him straight into, well, I guess downtown Metropolis, where they have a brief fight. Lex throws a car at him. Clark catches it, flies right behind him, and then uppercuts him into the outer atmosphere. They fly up to the moon, and they have a little powwow about what's going on. Lex is monologuing about how they were in Smallville together, and all he ever did was lie. But Clark assures he never lied. Lex gets the upper hand in their fight, but then Lex is still getting the upper hand. Sorry. Start to sweat. I gotta take it a little slower. Sorry. Lex is getting the upper hand, but then Lex reveals that he killed Manchester Black, which enrages Clark even further, and now he gets the upper hand and just absolutely destroys Lex. Even when Lex sends him away with some weird purple ball, Clark just comes flying back, revealing that his powers have changed. He's a lot stronger than he ever had been, and concepts like weight, distance, temperature, and even space-time have largely lost their meaning, and in moments he can cross distances that cease to be. But just by touching Lex's new armor, It falls to pieces, leaving only the dome protecting his head. As they are in space, Clark still does not want to kill anyone. Now that Lex is pretty much done, he takes him to prison, and Clark meets up with Batman and Nightwing to figure out what's going on at home. And as Batman reveals, it was a planet wide telepathic attack. Everyone, except for the Justice League, the Reservists, and the Titans, because they all have psychic defenses set up by Martian Manhunter, as well as people inside the Kent farm, which were his parents, Jay and Lois, because they were protected by the shield. Everyone else now forgot that he is Clark Kent. Despite the fact that there is multiple articles and newsreels talking about the fact that he is Clark and John is John, but that still kind of doesn't matter. The psychic effect is that strong that their brains just refuse to accept that's what it's telling them. They do decide that maybe Clark can adjust to this. They can go about their normal lives. John is actually a little happy about this. He does not need to be a celebrity anymore. He can kind of just go incognito, despite the fact that he just walked around without his glasses on, but that's neither here nor there. And then we see Lex in prison in Strikers Island Penitentiary, locked in a bubble for a time unknown. To be continued in Superman #1. Elsewhere in the multiverse, we see a Kal-El Superman murdered and being looked over by none other than Val Zod, the Superman of Earth 2, who says we need not another Kal-El to stop this, but we need John Kent to help. And that's to be continued in The Adventures of Superman John Kent #1. And in Metropolis, John Corbin is being awoken yet again from a scientist and a hologram of Lex Luthor, but he can now feel things. He can feel his hands and he can smell things. He has a human body again, but also still a kryptonite heart, as he will still be a weapon against Superman. And that's to be continued in Action Comics as Dawn of DC begins next month. Oh, okay. Sorry that took so long. So fairly simple fight between Clark and Lex, I think, which harkens back to the old Silver Age tales. I really liked it. I mentioned it was a nice dig at Marvel. I really enjoyed that fight between Clark and Lex. I thought it was really, really cool, the way they went back and forth like that, and all the monologuing they did back and forth about their relationship. Lots of cool teases for the future. I cannot wait to see Val Zod again. I'm one of the 3 people on the planet that loved New 52's Earth 2. So I'm all for that. I gave this issue an 8.75 out of 10. It was brilliant art throughout. The story was fantastic. I really liked it.
I liked
Yeah,
her
really,
too.
really great.
I liked Alan Scott and then the Power Girl Huntress team up, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah, it had some moments, but yeah, I don't know. I hear it got better towards the end, but I can't really say. Kind of, I didn't follow it that much, but yeah, no, this was. I mean, yeah, no, I pretty much echo everything that you said, Rob. I don't know. There's something kind of nostalgic about a classic Superman Lex beat 'em up, even though we've seen that a million times, definitely been done to death. But it's been so long. It almost feels nostalgic in a way. And that was really the core of the issue. I think that conflict between Lex and Superman. Now that things have really changed with their identities, and it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. Given that anyone who finds out his identity will seemingly die or put into a critical state. So it's going to make them have to be really protective about how they do things. But I think for me, just seeing how much Superman's power set has been elevated, which I know some people are going to say, oh, well, it's just going to make him super invincible or like a god or anything. But the solution to an elevated power set is just have elevated villains or villains who are more clever, which I think with the new Kryptonite Man is going to be the case. Or not Kryptonite Man. Wait. No, Kryptonite Man, right?
Yeah.
Or Metallo. Oh my god.
Metallo.
Wait, no, what? Yeah, I apologize. I mixed up my Kryptonite villains, but in any case, no. I think it was nice to see just how much his power set has changed. He has truly become a Superman, if you can pardon the pun. But no, it's got some. Yeah, there you go. Oh, thank you. I'll be here all week. It's got some really exciting setup for the future, and I wanna see how it goes moving from there. I mean, I know we've got some mixed opinions on the new Superman title and who's going to be the creative team on that book, but I'm optimistic. I'm looking forward to it. So I gave this one an 8.75 out of 10.
All right, you guys have pretty much hit on a whole bunch of stuff. So there's just some stuff in the issue that I'm going to point out and maybe have a little bit of a discussion prompt for. Did not see Manchester Black dying. I was assuming we were going to see a hero or like an anti-hero kind of role for
Mhm.
him, and nope. Did you guys notice that Lex Luthor has the Mona Lisa hanging in his office?
Of course.
And he has a portrait of himself 9 times bigger right next to it. I loved that.
Yeah,
Yep.
love that.
uh, I also noted that when Lex assembles a suit, he's not putting on that super suit that he made that is supposed to be even stronger than Superman. He puts on his old power suit. That made me go, huh? Um, Also making me go, huh, is the fact that, like Brandon said, I am one of those people that are going to say, so Superman's power set is now godlike. Um, while sure you can scale
Put
up
him
the
on an
villains,
even
I mean,
par to fight Goku, and it's just not going to happen. Stop trying.
Oh God.
oh Jesus
Not that
Christ,
old bad again.
yeah, no kidding. He would win, but in any case, the whole godlike thing, yeah, you can scale up your villains, and then you got to scale up your heroes, and then you scale up your villains, and we've seen that before, and it never ends good. I mean, Superman. Well, what was super? Ah, shit.
I don't know. I think All Star Superman, widely regarded as one of the best Superman stories of all time, did a pretty good job of that, where Superman literally has the powers of, well, not a god, but damn near close in that first issue, and then seemingly has to juggle with threats that require him to use his mind as well as his strength in strange and varying ways, but still clever enough. And I think if they can pull that off in All Star, I'm fairly certain they can pull it off here, especially given that our dear friend PKJ has been taking notes from Mr. Morrison as well. So
Yeah, for like
I
his
have
whole
I have
run.
faith in it. Yeah.
uh, I mean, again, I can't look at this issue and have my opinion on this with what I think is going to come. So I'm just gonna go by this. So everyone has forgotten Clark and John's identity, and I feel like that whole thing is just really dumb. I thought it was really dumb to have Clark's identity revealed. Bendis made a huge mistake with that, but I think this was kind of a with them being all over social media and all over the news and everything. The simple explanation is that people just won't believe it, and they'll forget about it after they see it. I mean, I guess because comics, but that felt weak, man. And as far as the art goes, it starts out super good. Then we get to Smallville and the quality lessons. Then we get to the hospital, and it looks like Raleigh Rosmo and Howard Porter had a baby, and that baby is not cute. Um, it goes to Gotham, and then after that, it sucks again. So that is where I'm at with the first part of it. The epilogue, a Kal El killer that only John can help out with. I guess we know where he's going and how there's only going to be one Superman on Earth. I don't understand what giving Metallo back his skin and sense of smell is going to do as far as superpowering him up to take on Superman now, but eh. Um, the art was iffy from here. Honestly, if I wanted to love this book, I went in expecting a near 10. Uh, the first story really good, with the exception of the clumsy explanation of the identity deals. It was pretty good. The first epilogue, really good art. There's a Kal El killer and Valzad needs John. Okay, cool. Second epilogue, fantastic art. I am completely confused as to what is happening with Metallo or why it's happening at all. So, as much as I thought that this issue would blow me away with its creative team, I'm kind of underwhelmed. It's not a bad book, it's a good one, but it is decidedly not all it was supposed to be. It was not all it was built up to be, and certainly not what I expected. Compared to all of that, it felt really lackluster, iffy art, iffy plots. So for me, it gets an iffy score. I gave it a 7 out of 10. And that wraps it up for the week. We have covered all of the books, so we're going to move on to the part that we like. Not just the talking, but picking out the ones that we thought were the best. This is our top three and our favorite moment. See, you guys are excited about it too. All right, so Rob, you want to go ahead and give us your top three and favorite moment?
As I pretty much only read the books we were covering, with the exception of DC Mech number 6. I rather enjoyed that. That did not make my top three though. At number 3, I had Harley Quinn. At number 2, I had Detective Comics, and at number 1, I had Action Comics. And the favorite moments I had, again, Lex saying, "I let you keep your marriage, but the boy was questionable," because that's a hell of a promo.
All righty. How about you, Brandon?
Mine are kind of similar to Rob's at number 3. I had oh my God, why did I not? This is why I need to write things down so I can remember what I need. No, at number 3 I had Blue Beetle Graduation Day. At number 2, Detective Comics, and or sorry, at number 2 at Action Comics, and number 1 I had Detective Comics. But my favorite moment, um, I'm also going to steal Rob's and say it's the "You're lucky I let you keep your marriage," but it's not for that reason. It's mostly just for the design of Lex's robotic armor because it has the words Lex across like his chest going down to his torso, and it's so utterly ridiculous. It's
Yes,
such a
it really
ridiculous design,
is.
but I love it. Like it looks like something from a manga, but it's so hilarious that I could totally see Lex wearing something like that.
I didn't
Like
even
not even
notice.
Luthor, it just says Lex. Like why?
LexCorp.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
How,
my top three are different from yours. My original third place did go to John Stewart, The Emerald Knight, number one. However, after much discussion about the confusion that takes place and pointing it out to me that I really don't know what the fuck happened, I'm going to drop that out and give it to the one that was just underneath that, Punchline Gotham Game. Fantastic book and surprising the shit out of me that I like it so much. Number two, not surprised that I liked it so much, Dead Boy Detectives. Fucking awesome. If you're not reading it and you can handle a little bit of gore, or you're not sick, you should pick it up and read it. Number one, though, it just keeps getting better and better and better, and that's Detective Comics. Now, my favorite moment, I want to say it was when I cracked open Dead Boys, but I'm gonna be a little less generic there. Um, it does come across as two longer moments though, and that is when the Bruce and Orgum and Batman and Freeze parallels were drawn in Detective
oh
Comics.
yeah.
It never crossed my mind, and the fact that it was brought up and said and presented in such that way, dude, I was like, that is fucking cool, and I want to see where it goes from there. So that is my favorite moment,
Before
and
we
now we're
continue, there's
done.
there's one more thing about Lex I forgot. Speaking of self-centered Lex, did you guys see his watch face when Clark showed up at LexCorp?
I
He had
did.
a Molex, not a
Are
Rolex,
you
but a
shitting
Molex
Yes.
because they can't use the
A
name. But
Molex.
but the
I
Lex
was gonna
was a
carry
little
that
bit
with me because I
bolder.
didn't think anyone would see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
that was
god.
brilliant. I love it.
It's the subtle things that just show his
Yeah.
ego that make it so much better.
Yeah.
But it really
Uh,
makes me, and this is like just totally ancillary, but I just want to wonder, like, what exactly does a Lex funded watch company look like? Because you have to imagine they're super, vanity driven. Like they're obviously just all about Lex and his image. But imagine someone like just, some casual person just wearing that.
no.
That's what I want to know. That's what I need to
That's
see.
me
Give
this
me a
moment.
Tales of Metropolis special about Lex's various businesses.
I'd be
Well,
so down to see that.
I I did not um I did not notice the watch face, so I had to do a quick
Yeah.
Google, and it turns out that
Mhm.
Molex watches are actually a thing in India, or in basically South Asia. So I hope nobody catches a lawsuit for that one.
But
Um,
like with the name Molex, it does scream knockoff watch.
oh God, it certainly does, and I have no doubt that. See, these are even sold on Alibaba, so yeah, knockoffs definitely possible. They knocked off a knockoff. Sweet double homicide. That would stink, and so does this. It is time for. Well, no, that wasn't right. It's time for.
Oh, that's nasty.
Yes, it is. It is time for the biggest stinker. I'll go ahead and kick this off because it is no mystery to anybody that Tim Blows Drake is my biggest stinker. How about you, Rob?
I agree. It was kind of boring this week. Yeah.
Yeah, mine is probably also Tim. No, I'd have to give it to Emerald Knight. That's definitely got to be my one.
That is your one. All right.
Yep.
Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'm going to get you guys to hate Rosmo. We're not going to swing the other way. You guys aren't going to convince me that he's great. I'm going to convince you that he sucks.
I doubt that.
I'm going to
don't
try,
see that
though. But that is the end of the show. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Brandon. And thank you, listeners, for listening in. If you want to give us a little bit of help, show us a little bit of love, you can head on over to buymeacoffee.com/NAR podcasts. You can hit us up at NAR Comics on Instagram. Is that right, Rob? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. And you can always hit us up on our email as well, which is comics@notarobotpodcast.com. And with that exceptionally long, drawn out self promo, we're going to go ahead and end things. As always, there's only one way that we say goodbye around here. Be good to yourself.
Be good to each other.
And don't be a robot.
Beep boop.
All right. Okay. I